In this lesson, we'll learn more about how the vaccine acceptance can change during the trajectory of an immunization program. This graph represents the usual cycle of vaccine acceptance. Let's follow up how the incidence of a disease, which will be represented in blue, can change in time depending on vaccine coverage, which will be represented in red. In the pre-vaccination period, the population do not receive the vaccine and the incidence of the disease is high. This can happen either because of low vaccination coverage or because we might be talking about a disease against which there is no vaccine available yet. Now, let's suppose that the population in our example start to have access and take the vaccine against this disease. First, we can see how the vaccine introduction increases the coverage. After the period of maturation of the immunization program, more and more people start to take the vaccine, and the incidence of the disease start to drop. Now, let's imagine that the vaccine coverage is maintained in high levels. This will decrease the incidence of the disease even more. After some time, the incidence can be decreased to such low levels that the population may start to underestimate the probability of harm if the disease does develop. For example, most adults in countries with high vaccination coverage have never seen cases of measles or any of the other vaccine-preventable childhood diseases. So the complacency or lack of concern about the disease can start to rise. Other factors that can influence the public risk perception are personal beliefs and aversion to medicine. The increase of the risk perception can lead to a reduction of the vaccine coverage, and outbreaks start to appear. However, it's expected that these episodes bring awareness about the importance of vaccination, so the coverage can be reestablished and the incidence of the disease decreases again. The risk perception of a vaccine can fluctuate in low levels over time. Therefore, it's important to address public concerns and keep the vaccination coverage high. If the high coverage is kept long enough, elimination of the disease can be achieved, depending on other factors such as its mode of transmission and the absence of host reservoirs. In other words, the incidence of the disease decreases to zero, and new cases are not seen in that specific population. It is important to say that the coverage needs to remain high to avoid imported cases. Now, if the reduction to zero of the incidence is achieved worldwide, the disease is considered eradicated. This is the case of smallpox, for example. In this scenario, the vaccine can be removed from the national immunization programs because there is no longer circulation of the pathogen. So, in this lesson, we learn about the usual cycle of vaccine acceptance, the rise of vaccine hesitancy, the emergence of an outbreak, and eventual increase in vaccine uptake. Therefore, it is important to understand that the vaccine safety and efficacy do not assure vaccine uptake because there are other factors that impact vaccine confidence. For further information, please check the additional resources of the module.